Friends, before starting today's horror story, I would like to tell you a very interesting stat. 80% of our viewers who watch our stories haven't subscribed to our channel. And if you are one of them, you have to do a small task where you have to click to the subscribe button and also press the bell icon so that you are the first to get the notification as soon as our video arrives. Haunted Delhi, Fort Avnish, was employed by the Archaeological Survey of India, commonly known as ASI. His work primarily involved examining and preserving historical sites across the country, and he was currently assigned to Delhi's Siri Fort. The fort was an ancient structure, requiring his team to work only during daylight hours. This schedule was not just practical due to the vast size of the fort, but also because it was known that various thieves and drug addicts often occupied the fort after dark, making nighttime work risky. However, today was unlike any other day for Avnish. He was about to face an unusual challenge, spending an entire night alone within the mysterious walls of Siri Fort. The fort itself carried centuries of history and legend, having been constructed by the ruler Alauddin Khilji over 600 years ago. Khilji had commissioned the fort as a defensive stronghold to protect Delhi from relentless attacks by the Mongols. According to historical accounts, Khilji's fury during one of these invasions led him to take an extreme and horrifying measure. It is said that he ordered the execution of 8,000 Mongol soldiers, slitting their throats in an act of merciless rage. Their severed heads were reportedly embedded within the fort's walls, creating a scary legacy. This chilling tale became central to the fort's identity, giving rise to its name. The word Siri is believed to have originated from these heads, which, legend has it, remain hidden within its walls to this day. Over time, a bustling city emerged within the protective boundaries of the fort, transforming it into more than just a site of defense. For Avnish, spending the night in a place laden with such dark history was an experience he could neither fully predict nor escape. People believe that the souls of those headless soldiers still wander around in the fort. The security guard there told Avnish that people hear strange sounds of horses and people screaming at night. For the people who have stayed there at night, it is said that attempts have been made to kill them by rubbing their faces against the wall. After listening to whatever the security guard had said, Avnish wanted to stay there at night as his interest in Siri Fort had increased further. He wanted to know if the things used to happen, or were they just a mere story? Just like the horror stories of other old monuments situated in Delhi. As soon as it was dark, his team left, but he stayed on the fort premises. Avnish went inside the fort with his camera, flashlight, and notepad. The ruins of Siri Fort seemed more beautiful to Avnish than how they used to look in the morning. He still couldn't believe Alauddin Khilji had immured the heads of 8,000 soldiers inside the walls of such a beautiful fort. He crossed the mosque and continued walking towards one of the corners of the first wall. The path was full of bushes and he was surrounded by an eerie silence. The ruins of the wall were visible to him now. He thought he had heard the sound of someone asking for help. He thought the voice must be echoing from a distance, so he ignored the sound. But as soon as he turned on his camera, the walls that were a little far away were also visible because of the camera's flash, when he suddenly saw a severed head buried inside the wall. Avnish got scared. He removed the camera and looked towards the wall, but there was no one to be found. When he tried looking there in the camera again, his camera turned off on its own. Avnish found this very strange, because he had charged his camera's battery before arriving there. He was trying to turn on his camera, but suddenly he heard the shouting of horses and people from some distance. Avnish had heard in stories that at night, Siri Fort comes to life. The walls there start creating an illusion of that era, and the dead Mongols, just like themselves, trap other people inside the walls of the Siri fort. So as soon as he heard those sounds, Avnish thought that it would be better to just leave the fort, so he started leaving the fort premises. But for some reason he couldn't find a way out. In whatever direction he went, he was arriving near the same wall again and again. His phone had also switched off. He stood there and started shouting, but even after shouting, no one could hear him. Avnish started getting very anxious. As those sounds were not stopping, somehow he gathered all the courage and started running in the opposite direction. But as he was running, the sound of the horses started getting louder and started approaching closer to him. He ended up coming in front of the same wall even after running so much. He suddenly saw that a severed head was trying to come out of the same wall. It was clear from his war helmet and face that the head was of a Mongol soldier. Avnish noticed that his mouth was opening slowly, as if the severed head was trying to say something. Avnish closed his eyes in fear and explained to himself that it was all part of his imagination. But as he opened his eyes, his blood ran dry, because now not only one, but a lot of severed heads that were staring at him and screaming in pain were there. Avnish's heart was beating very fast. He was trying to scream like a crazy person, but his voice had stopped coming out. Avnish felt as if the heads were pulling Avnish towards themselves while crying and screaming in pain. Avnish wasn't able to control himself. His hands had started trembling, and suddenly he started getting pulled towards that wall. He felt as if a lot of hands were emerging from the wall and were trying to bind him and pull him towards the wall. He started rubbing his head against the wall as if he wanted to make himself a part of those buried heads. He was in a lot of pain, but he wasn't able to stop himself. Suddenly he felt a lot of pain in his neck. He felt as if someone was separating his head from his body. Those four heads were staring at him continuously and started shouting more loudly. Avnish too kept on screaming in pain, but there was no one to listen to his screams. The next morning, when one of the guards of the Siri fort came inside for a round, he saw Avnish rubbing his face against the wall. The guard tried stopping Avnish, but he wanted to bury his head inside that wall like crazy. Somehow, the guard pulled Avnish away from that wall. As soon as he got away from that wall, he fell down and suddenly fainted. After some time in the hospital, Avnish woke up and started feeling better. When he shared his experience with others, everyone was shocked by what he had been through. The details of his story left people speechless and filled with fear. From that day onwards, Avnish refused to ever return to Siri Fort. The place had become a memory he wanted to leave far behind. Today, the ruins of Siri Fort still stand in silence. Life around the fort moves on, with people working and living nearby, day and night. But inside those ancient walls, something strange and dark remains. It is believed that the spirits of the Mongol soldiers, whose heads were buried in the walls, are still waiting. They say these spirits might one day pull you into the walls, just as they themselves were trapped there long ago. If you like the story, then do subscribe to our channel, Bloody Monday, and keep watching for more such spine-chilling horror videos. Please do share the videos with your friends and family so that we could get motivation for uploading more of such spooky videos. Don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on any of our eerie, heart-pounding videos. Keep watching and stay brave.